Hello, my name is Chris Goode, and I help people transform the pain of a breakup into a life of power and purpose. So if that's something that you're struggling with, then you're definitely going to want to stay tuned till the end of the video. So what I want to talk about today is why we get stuck when it comes to relationships and how to get unstuck, particularly when it comes to breakups. And so what ends up happening often is there's a lot of different things that can happen here. Our failure to allow ourselves to grieve properly, which is what I discuss in my first video on this series. But another reason why people get stuck in the pain of a breakup is because they personalize the experience too much. What I mean is that they bear responsibility for things that are simply out of their control. And this is so crucial because we could avoid so much pain in life if we took time to understand what it is that we actually control versus what it is that we don't control. There's a really great Stoic philosopher named Epictetus who he pretty much said in simple terms that the things that we control are our actions, and the things that we don't control are not our actions. So, it's things like we can't control the opinions of others. We can't control our reputation or even our finances. These are things we can influence, but ultimately we don't have control. So the closer that you get to yourself, the more control you have, and the farther you get, the less control you have. It's like you don't control the weather. You don't control this or that. So you get my point. And it's crucial to really understand that, because if you don't, you're going to keep repeating the mistake of bearing the responsibility of things that simply are not your fault. Some people feel guilty about the breakup, even when the breakup is not their fault. Maybe the other person was unfaithful, or maybe they just fell out of love. Maybe they just lost attraction, or they no longer desire the person, because people are changing. That's one thing that we can count on, is that there's always going to be change. And when it comes to feeling guilty about the things that other people do, we need to be mindful. Are we personalizing this too much? Do we think that it was something that we could have controlled? And realistically, you can't control the actions of another person. You can influence them. There's certain things that you can do to, make yourself more likable and attractive to another person. But at the end of the day, another person is responsible over their own choices and decisions. And so if you take that kind of responsibility on yourself, you're really going to be hindering yourself in a way that you just simply don't need to. So how do you get out of this problem? Well, I think the first thing is taking notice that you're doing it in the first place. Because if you continue to repeat this over and over again, and you're not aware of it, then what ends up happening is it just stays the same way over and over and over again. And I'm sure that that's not something that you want to continue to repeat. I know that's something that I wouldn't want to repeat. All of us face problems at times where we find ourselves cycling over and over again, and it's like madness. It's like, how do I get out of this situation? Like, why is this happening to me? Why do I keep doing the same bad behaviors over and over again, the same maladaptive and toxic behaviors? And so as soon as you notice what's going on, then you can start taking new action. In fact, even just the idea of noticing and accepting the fact that you feel the way that you do, that your experience is real. It might not be based on the right beliefs or assumptions, but it is real. And so you can start to parse it apart. You can start to take it apart. You can start to look at it and really examine what's going on here. And when you take the chance to really look into these things and to really look into yourself, you'll begin to notice what it is that you're doing. What's the underlying belief? People say all the time, I believe in this, I believe in that. We can really find out what someone believes and what we actually believe by what we do. And so taking notice of those actions is going to allow us to be able to make better decisions, because we'll start to see how we're making these sort of assumptions. If you're assuming that you can control the actions of another person, maybe you'll be bearing the guilt on yourself because it's your fault. Why didn't things end up in a better way? And also, you might realize, like, wait a second, this is not my fault. I've been just automatically assuming this thing for so long. And now that I've become aware of it, like, I'm gonna release this and let this go. And it's okay. Now, just be careful that you don't find yourself getting caught up in feeling guilty about being guilty because you weren't aware of the fact that you were doing this. That's the last thing you might do. It's about as silly as being angry about being angry or stressed about being stressed. It's a very quick downward spiral, and it doesn't work out for anyone. That's why a lot of like Buddhist practices where you learn to come at peace with yourself, you're practicing meditation and you just accept the experience that you're having, is a way of like stilling it and calming the waters so that you're not actually making anything worse. It's just like, let it be. It will change. It will pass. Things will get better. And so the last thing I would suggest is that you take some time to, when it's right and appropriate, you certainly don't want to do this if this is causing you a lot of unwanted misery or harm, if it's keeping you from being productive and doing the things that you need to do day in and day out. It takes some time to examine what happened, to really look back and to see how you contributed to the situation, your actions, and what role you played in the breakup. Were there certain things that you ignored? Certain types of like red flags. Maybe the relationship was ending long before it actually ended and you just didn't take notice. Or if you found yourself fooled because it came out of nowhere, then ask yourself, was there anything that maybe I overlooked that I wasn't willing to accept? Did I feel a distance? Did I feel a change in the dynamic, the energy of the relationship? Because once you begin to notice these things, it becomes wisdom. And that wisdom can turn into such a source of protection in future relationships. It can save you from so many problems. But it takes humility and the willingness to see what role we played in the circumstances we face in an appropriate way. Not in a way where we're taking all the guilt onto ourselves. It's probably not all your fault. It's very doubtful that it could be all your fault. If it was all your fault, then it wasn't love. It was simply some person that you controlled and they didn't do the thing that you wanted to do. And I'm pretty sure for the majority of the people listening, unless you're some sort of like narcissistic sociopath, you probably didn't try to control your partner. And look, even if you did, even if you deal with things like an anxious attachment style or insecurity, and you displayed some sort of manipulative behaviors because you were trying to salvage the relationship, take a look at those. Ask yourself, wow, that's not good. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be that kind of person. What can I do to be better? And as you get better at examining yourself, it'll be easier to salvage and save relationships in the future, because you'll start to notice these things ahead of time. You can fix them in real time, and you can become a lot better, a lot faster. So those are the suggestions that I would have for you. I hope that this video was helpful if you're personalizing the experience that you're going through when it comes to a breakup too much, where maybe you feel guilty about it, or if there's something else, like some other topic that you would like me to cover, that would be, you're just like, how do I heal from this breakup? Like it's killing me. Then please let me know in the comments. I want to make sure that I'm providing you all with valuable content and information that's useful, practical, pragmatic, stuff that's going to move you forward so that you feel better a lot faster. And yeah, thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe for more.